welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan. Tonight, we're bringing you an interview as part of a very special series that we call Super Achievers Making New India, powered by VoiceWhat. Our Super Achiever tonight is Pandorum Technologies. Also, in the spotlight tonight, as part of our Wealth First segment, we're bringing you an expert on how you should be filing and maintaining and planning for your taxes. Let me welcome in all of our guests who are joining us here on this very special segment. Pandorum Technologies, the entire top management joining us to talk about all the exciting innovation that they're doing at the business. We have Dr. Tuhin Bhowmick, co-founder and CEO, Pandorum Technologies. Dr. Arun, Chandru, co-founder and CTO, Pandorum Technologies. Professor Virender Singh Sangwan, Director Innovation, Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital. Dr. Astha Singh, cornea consultant, Dr. Shroff's Charity Eye Hospital. Also, a conversation with an expert as far as filing and preparing for your taxes this new fiscal is concerned. Pandorum Technologies is a startup and the only one of its kind when it comes to tissue engineering and regenerative medicine is concerned. They have offices globally, especially here in India and Bengaluru and San Carlos, where they work with some of the world-renowned collaborators and partners. Let's hear from the technology founders themselves about the work that they do.
We all come from single cell, and eventually it divides and gets specialized for a specific function. In physics department, I was doing my studies in protein crystallography in biophysics. I met Arun Chandru, a PhD student from aerospace engineering. In 2009, my dad was detected with lung cancer. He was undergoing chemotherapy. He got this large bed sores. It spread all over his back and they don't heal. I felt very helpless. Me and Arun, we started to work on this concept, what we used to call liquid skin. Our idea was to build this liquid in a way that it can be sprayed on the wound site. It then solidifies and accelerates wound healing. This liquid solution which we made can have cells within it. That makes it a bio-ink for 3D printing. And it's not about just skin. One of the first tissue we tried to build is bioengineered cornea. Cornea is literally a window to the world. It's the central circular transparent path through which light goes inside your eyes. Corneal blindness is one of the top 3 reasons of blindness all around the world. 14 million people are in the waiting list for a corneal transplant. The doctor removes the scar tissue. That creates a cavity. Now this cavity is filled with this liquid cornea, and the liquid converts into solid. Within the next 3 to 6 months, a new cornea will regenerate back. We're in a stage where we are filing our case for a human pilot trial.
We hope that in the near future, thousands if not millions should be able to see again.
Most of the blindness across India and the developing world is preventable.
But if you think of Pandorum, it's not a cornea company or it's not a liver company. It's a technology company.
Bioengineering is the future in healthcare. There will be a day when organs will be actually grown in the lab for transplantation.
Today, we are working on technologies which we can use to repair damaged tissue. What we are seeing that there are certain codes which can teach your body how to repair itself. Our dream is to be able to fix a tissue even before it is damaged in the first place. I think this is something where we can arrive in future, maybe like in 5-10 years.
Joining us first is Dr. Virender Sangwan. Doctor, I want you to really talk to us about your flagship product, which is in the pipeline, which I understand is the bioengineered liquid cornea, and that restores vision via transparent regeneration of the damaged human cornea. That sounds extremely complicated to do, but you as a company, of course, you're simplifying that process. Help us understand, what that really is and how it works.
I've been associated with Pandorum for almost 6-7 years now and working on this idea of liquid cornea. Today, the corneal blindness is one of the significant public health problem in globally and more so in developing countries. There are a variety of causes, but only solution at the moment is corneal transplant, either full or part. So what we are trying to do is, can we create a solution or a product which can help to repair the cornea by using its innate powers, that is endogenous regeneration. And that technology we are developing in the form of the liquid cornea. We have come to a stage that the liquid cornea now is being tried in the animal We have completed the animal studies and we are super excited about the results. We are doing another study in another species, and that study is progressing very well. You know, the lab which we have for these animal studies is one of the best equipped lab and state-of-art equipment. We are very confident that we are developing a very world-class product.
So I want to talk about the current technologies in treatment for corneal blindness. How effective is it? What are the treatments that are available? What can you tell our viewers?
The problem with cornea is if there is any infection, injury, or any enzyme defect, it becomes opaque. So therefore, once it becomes opaque, you cannot treat it medically. Therefore, you have to replace it with a donor cornea. And that donor cornea is in short supply globally. On an average, in India, there is a waiting list for more than a year or more in most places, and hence the liquid cornea comes into play. And this technology is going to be far superior than the existing one because it gives you more flexibility, it gives you unlimited supply, and it will bring down the cost. It can supply to the rest of the world. So to me, it looks like it is a very promising and very effective solution once we prove its efficacy in human beings.
So how effective is Pandorum's liquid cornea, and do you believe that this truly is the technology which will take on everything that's happening across the globe and become a world leader?
Given the SWOT analysis, I feel that Pandorum's liquid cornea is very well placed in the global positioning, and the development, the effectiveness will make it a very attractive target for future investment and scaling up.
Dr. Astha is here with us next. Dr. Astha, what tests have you undertaken as far as the safety and the efficacy of this liquid cornea is concerned?
We have been performing preclinical studies to test the safety and efficacy of liquid cornea. We have performed elaborate and extensive studies on basically two species, which is the New Zealand white rabbits and mice, and we have been getting encouraging results.
The main R&D center of Pandorum Technologies is located at the Bangalore Bioinnovation Center in Electronic City. Scientists at this R&D center work on multiple innovative projects, including therapies for corneal regeneration and 3D bioprinting. Highly skilled and highly qualified, the team has scientists with PhDs and postdoctoral fellowships from prestigious universities across the world. In 2021, Pandorum opened a brand new lab in MBC Biolabs, San Carlos, California, United States. Located in the Bay Area, the lab allows Pandorum to accelerate research and development on its promising cornea and liver pipelines, while also establishing a strong presence in the US biotech ecosystem. Along with hiring several top scientists at the state-of-the-art lab, Pandorum has formed key partnerships with renowned regenerative medicine institutions such as the Medical University of South Carolina and Feinberg School of Medicine, Northwestern University, to bring Pandorum closer to clinical trials in India and the US. Being at MBC Biolabs allows Pandorum to have access to multiple high-value and cutting-edge equipment like FACS, MACS and cell culture facilities.
Arun Chandru is with us. Dr. Chandru, the idea behind starting Pandorum Technologies, its aim, what could you tell us on that?
Dr. Tuhin Bhowmick and myself, we started this company about 10 years back with the support from the Association of Biotech-led Enterprises and the Government of India. That is the Department of Biotechnology. Our aim has been to develop innovations to address some of the critical challenges in healthcare today. Pandorum's bioengineered liquid cornea is designed and developed to address this problem of corneal blindness via regeneration, that is transparent regeneration of one's own cornea, leading to restoration of vision.
If I get my sight back, first I'd like to see my parents, see the world, beautiful world.
I would like to travel in the boats. It will be really nice to see other people. I would become a teacher.
That feeling that you have been able to add a positive value to someone's life, I don't know what else one can compare that with.
To all of you joining us from Pandorum Technologies, thank you so much for your time. I want to slip into a short break. We're back in just a moment with a very special Wealth First segment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight on our Wealth First segment, we are talking about everything to do with taxes in the new fiscal, planning for it, filing, what you should keep in mind as far as your finances are concerned in a very special chat. Sharad, thank you for joining us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow on the Wealth First segment. And, even as we're bringing expert voices like yourself to our entrepreneurs to talk about the big event here that we're focusing on all of the month of March and going into April as well, that is the financial year end and the start of the new fiscal. And for a small business which is watching today's interview, perhaps the top 4 or 5 tips that you would want for an entrepreneur to keep in mind as they're preparing for what essentially is an event in the life of an entrepreneur, the start of this new fiscal. What would you like to tell them?
Well, a very crucial point in the year, I would say, for those small entrepreneurs, because 31st March is, and the real happy new year, as we wish in January, but from an economic point of view, from a financial point of view, and for that matter, from a tax point of view, the real happy new year, in our community, we wish on the 1st of April. And it's got a very good reason, because when you're a businessman, when you're a small entrepreneur, your books of accounts, your financial year ends on 31st of March, along with the government's financial year. So the fiscal year for the country is 31st. That's what makes it so important. So I think what a small entrepreneur should keep in mind is that the bottom lines, the profit for which you would toil all through the year, those bottom lines do not get affected by shelling out that extra amount of tax, which could happen because of either your negligence or because of your ignorance of certain provisions. So my advice, if you ask me in brief, for all the entrepreneurs is that please do work closely with your team of accountants. Do not, I find a lot of entrepreneurs, Sunanda, who delegate their accounting to the team of accountants and completely disassociate themselves from that department. So my advice is, please remain involved in the accounting and financial affairs of the company as much as you are involved in sales, as much as you are involved in business development, as much as you're involved with your customers, clients, whatever. Please work in tandem with them, because you don't want to be slapped with surprises at the year end, that suddenly your accountant or your whoever is a finance guy, he comes and tells you, look, sir, we now have to pay so much of tax. So I think that is the mistake. That is my first advice I would like to give. And of course, we will take micro details as we move forward in the discussion.
Sure, absolutely. So as let's talk about for a small business, which says that they have not perhaps had a formal process as such when it comes to their tax filing, etc. Is it advisable for you to always depend on on an accountant, on an expert, on a consultant to be able to help you manage your taxes? What about those founders who say financial planning is left to, say, for instance, the professional CFO, etc. How should they be looking at it? What would you like to tell them?
Well, it would be unfair, Sunanda, if despite having a CFO, if we tell the entrepreneur, the businessman, okay, fine, you handle it yourself, because a CFO, after all, is recruited for the purpose. So therefore, it is natural for the entrepreneur to depend to a certain extent on the CFO. But as I said earlier, it is prudent, it is pragmatic. And I find a lot of young entrepreneurs, a lot of young businessmen who are very well aware. I mean, they may be coming from a very scientific kind of background. They may be coming from biology. They might be coming from chemistry, or they may be coming from a stream of marketing or HR or whatever. But I think little bit of knowledge, which is these days part of the curriculum of finance and accounts, is always going to prove handy to you. And let's not forget that when your CFO tries to explain to you those complicated methodologies, those complicated terminologies, it is always easier for you to understand if you are aware, if you are cognizant of what is happening around you. So I still feel that working with your CFO and trying to understand what your CFO is trying to tell you, instead of just taking it as a piece of information, is advisable.
Sure. So one part of, since we're talking about tax filing and, towards that is also tax saving. And we're only talking about from a business point of view, from a professional point of view. For entrepreneurs who are watching today, the top tips when it comes to saving tax that you perhaps want to let them in on, 2 or 3 things that you would like for them to keep their eye on.
The main thing which an entrepreneur has to remember is that your entire tax planning lies in the expenses that you are incurring for your business. So whatever that your business spends and whatever that your business generates out of sales or turnover or receipts, whatever name you may be giving to it. So the net of two is your bottom line. And that is where the tax men look at. So I think the planning really lies in making sure that all the expenses that your business is incurring are relevant, they are claimable, they are deductible, and your accounting team is properly taking care of. I can give you some examples like traveling. Suppose you're traveling, your team is traveling, all the traveling expenses must be accounting for. All your telecommunication expenses must be accounted for. Of course, the salaries and all that are naturally part of your business. But what mistakes a lot of entrepreneurs do, Sunanda, and which I observe on a day-to-day basis, is that sometimes they're spending money from their own account. What they do is, suppose you go out for business, you stay in a hotel, and he ends up using his own credit card, pays the bills, and then he tells his accountant, look, I have spent this money, you give this to me. Fine. Reimbursing from your company is fine. But the deductibility of that expense may come under question because you have not used the company's funds, you've rather used your own funds. So I think that is one care as a matter of tax planning which you have to take. Then another very, very small issue I would like to mention here, Sunanda. When your company was set up, after all, we are talking of startups. After all, we are talking of third or fourth generation of businessmen who just about started. The amount that you spend in setting up your business is called preliminary expenses in the technical jargon of income tax. And those expenses are reasonably large in size because of obviously it's the initial expense, forming a company, getting all your registrations done. So all this is categorized under preliminary expenses, and you can claim these preliminary expenses against your profit in 5 equal installments over the next 5 years. There is a section called Section 35D.
Sure. You raised a very important point, Sharad, about sometimes there being an overlap between personal and professional, expenses. And no real distinction between, the money that's coming into your business, the money that you are taking away as an individual, because the entrepreneur and the entrepreneur is the business in a lot of cases. How do you ensure that you are keeping these two separate? If you haven't managed to do it so far, and you're doing it not because you're trying to sort of willfully defraud the business, etc., but because you haven't realized, like you were giving the example of, say, using your personal credit card, for instance, when you're going on work travel. How do you ensure you're separating the two?
My advice is that keep 2 separate credit cards for separate category of expenses. Do not mix the two. So like if I have a credit card, that is only being used for my business purposes. My B credit card is only being used when I'm traveling with my spouse, my children on holiday, on personal outings. And I'm not mixing up the two, because what happens if you mix up the two? When your statement comes, you will find yourself, struggling to circle out the expenses which were pertaining to your business and which was pertaining to, and sometimes, Sunanda, it's very normal that people do not even remember. They get mixed to such an extent that I forget after a month, oh, what's this business? What's this personal? What's this partly business? What's this partly personal? So I think that is where the care has to be taken. So, and in your laptop, in your system, do maintain an Excel sheet. I call that as a mini accountant within yourself, a simple Excel sheet where you list out all your expenses. Do not depend on your accountant to handle your personal stuff as well, unless of course you are from a 400 crore, you've grown to 40,000 crores. Most welcome. I'll have probably 3 executive assistants working from me. One of them would be an accountant who will take care of my personal expenses as well. But till such time, please maintain an Excel sheet to segregate these expenses. Another care, Sunanda, which needs to be taken by a small business. Here we'll have to highlight a very important point, which is your small little business is running by way of a proprietorship. Is it running by way of a partnership? Is it running by way of an LLP? Or is it running by way of a private limited company? These are the 4 possible permutation combinations under which you can be working your business. Now, most of the cases I find small businesses, either they work as proprietors or they form a private limited company. LLPs are getting popular, but not as much as the companies. So therefore, the taxability, Sunanda, why I highlighted this aspect was because the taxability for all 4 categories and the method of taxation for all 4 categories differs from each other. So hence it is important to know under what organization you are functioning.
All right, Sharad. Thanks for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow.
Pleasure.
Completely out of time then on tonight's episode. If you have any feedback for us, our contact details on your screens as we speak. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.